Yuki Onna. Once upon a time, somewhere in the northern countryside, there lived two lumberjacks named Minokichi and Mosaku. Since Minokichi was still young, he served as an apprentice under the old Mosaku. The two always took a ferry boat across the river to cut down trees in a distant forest. It was a winter day. Minokichi and Mosaku had gone to the forest and were cutting down trees as always. Then a black cloud suddenly appeared, and it started to snow. In the blink of an eye, the snow flurries turned into a terrible blizzard. The two had no choice but to stop working and started walking home. However, upon reaching the river, they discovered that the boatman had already left, and the boat had already been tied up at the opposite bank. The two had no choice but to go into the boatman's hut on the dry riverbed, where they could wait out the blizzard. There was no fire in the boatman's hut, and it was only 2 tatami mats wide. The two lay down on the floor, and before they knew it, they had fallen asleep. After a little while, Minokichi woke up because he felt extremely cold. The door to the hut had been left open, and snow was fluttering in. Minokichi immediately looked over in Mosaku's direction and saw a woman wearing a snow-white kimono. As the woman breathed a white trail of frozen breath onto Mosaku's face, his face and hands steadily turned whiter. Minokichi tried to let out a cry of shock, and at that, the woman came towards him. Her face was beautiful. Her skin was abnormally white, and her eyes were as piercing as lightning. Minokichi tried to escape, but he couldn't move or speak. The woman stared closely at Minokichi's face. He had an uncommonly handsome face for a man from the countryside. "I will save you, but you must not tell anyone about what happened tonight. If you say anything, you're a dead man. You understand, right?" "Don't forget," the woman said, before disappearing outside into the blizzard. Minokichi immediately went over to Mosaku and tried to wake him up. But he was as cold and hard as ice. Minokichi fainted on the spot. The next morning, when Minokichi awoke, Mosaku had died. About a year after that, one day, when Minokichi was riding the ferry boat on his way home from the forest, a beautiful young woman with a white complexion was there. When Minokichi got off the boat, he struck up a conversation with the young woman. She had lost her parents and was in trouble, and said that she was on the way to go to the capital to look for work and a place to live. Minokichi felt bad for her and allowed the woman to stay at his house. Her name was Oyuki. Before long, she and Minokichi were married. Oyuki took great care of Minokichi's mother, and she gave birth to 10 children, one after another. One evening, Oyuki put the children to sleep like always, and then began her needlework. As Minokichi absent-mindedly stared at Oyuki's face, he remembered the woman with the white kimono who he had seen in the boatman's hut long ago. "Hey, Oyuki," he said. "A long time ago, I met a woman who was beautiful like you. Her complexion was incredibly white like yours. This was when I was staying in the boatman's hut during a blizzard. I often thought it was a dream, but because Mosaka was killed, she must have been the snow woman, as I suspected." Oyuki suddenly looked at Minokichi with a terrifying look in her eyes and said, "That woman was me. I told you not to tell anyone, but you broke your promise. Even so, I won't kill you. But in return, please take care of our children for me." As she left him with these words, her body turned into a white mist and floated out from the small window near the ceiling.